CEO Rachel Tristano. Okay, we'll try that again. Good morning, everyone. I'm your CEO, Rachel Tristano, and I'm here with your president, Jennifer Jewell, as well as our Bylaws Task Force chairperson, Kim Allard, and our Bylaws Task Force members, one of which is Steve Greco that you see as one of our panelists. This year, 3 of our association's past presidents participated in this task force with additional experienced volunteer leadership like Steve, and we appreciate their time and their hard work. We want to thank you all for attending this pre-annual meeting information session, and we hope this session prepares you for the annual meeting coming up on October 26th.
Today, we will walk you through the annual meeting process and what to expect this year, including proxy voting procedures for those not attending in person and why they are so important. And we will also briefly cover procedures for live voting at the annual meeting. We'll review the slate of officers and directors being elected for 2024 and also review the proposed bylaw amendments. These amendments will be voted on at the meeting. We want you to feel comfortable to ask any questions that you may have, whether it's about the proxy voting, live voting, bylaw amendments, or slate of officers and directors. After hearing your questions, it helps us cover all necessary business information during the annual meeting itself. While there will be limited time to answer questions at the annual meeting, there is a lot of information to get through. So we hope this pre-meeting gives you a chance to see what's coming up in just a couple of weeks, live in Pembroke in the Upper Hall. We will start with proxy voting and why it is so important.
In order to conduct the annual business meeting, we are required to meet a quorum of 150 Realtor members. While we struggled to meet this quorum in the past, we were able to provide incentives like a free CE course for attendees. However, that no longer draws the crowds that it did in the past. In the last few years, we have had to reschedule the annual meeting twice because we could not meet the quorum. This cost the association volunteers and staff time. It's additional expenses for proxy voting, meeting setup, and that includes food and beverage, hall rental, the parliamentarian, and more. During the pandemic, the state granted proxy voting, and South Shore Realtor members voted to approve the bylaw amendment that allows the association to utilize proxy at the annual meeting. I believe most are aware of proxy voting, but for those who might not be, rather than physically attend the annual meeting, members can select the association's secretary, David Broder, or President-elect Michelle Cox. They can cast their proxy vote on behalf of the member. The member can also choose whether they can vote on their behalf for all business actions taken during the meeting or used for quorum only. The email with directions and member credentials was sent out from an email address, noreply@directvote.net. If you cannot attend the meeting, we ask that you look for that email and submit your proxy to help us meet the quorum, which will allow us to conduct this year's business of the association.
Thank you, Rachel. Hi, everyone. It was a pleasure to be your 2023 Bylaws Task Force chairperson this year, and I'm going to be presenting the proposed bylaw amendment, and it speaks directly to what Rachel and President Jennifer just spoke about. So the first changes are to Articles 4 and 5, and these are changes that all address the NAR, new NAR required fair housing training. So first on Article 4, membership Section 1, Item A, Section 2 of the bylaws, and Article 5, and I don't know if Rachel's going to be sharing it on the screen for you, but basically qualifications at elections. It says by adding the word fair housing training. This change incorporates NAR's new required fair housing training for Realtor members and includes the training and the qualifications for Realtor membership. So again, just reflecting, and this isn't uncommon that we as a local association adopt changes that NAR makes, so that, Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, by adopting the changes, we're also able to continue to obtain E&O coverage under NAR's policies, right?
Exactly right, Kim.
Yep. So obviously that's why we're adopting that. Article 5, Section 6 adds the new fair housing training requirement. And then we have it again under Section 7 that adds new fair housing training requirements to continuing Realtor membership requirements. Okay. So again, just to be consistent with NAR, and will allow us to continue to be covered under their E&O. So we move along to the last proposed amendment, which is Article 12, Meetings and Actions, Section 5. And it changes, we're asking to change the quorum from 150 required Realtor members present, or 10% of the Realtor membership, which is currently 300, to a majority of those Realtor members attending. Now, this is proposed for several reasons. And remember, we, as a committee, sat, or a task force sat and reviewed this several different ways for an extensive period of time. And as Rachel mentioned, we have past presidents on the group. We have some pretty heavy thinkers. So I thought it was a great discussion, but this was proposed for several reasons. First of all, a smaller quorum obviously gives us, as the association, the flexibility that we need to make decisions and make them timely. And it eliminates the additional expense that arises and has arisen. This isn't just a what if, this is it's happened from consistently. We have a difficulty gathering enough members to reach an unreasonably high quorum. And obviously the annual expenses of, $3,500 of proxy voting. So we have a number of things that come into play here, as Rachel mentioned. We have been trying to entice our members for as long as I can remember, and I think I've been a member since 1999, where it was a panic. It was an annual panic to get people to come in. We couldn't start the business of the association meeting until we had the quorum. And sometimes we were all on our cell phones getting people to come. If we don't get the quorum, like has happened in the past, we have lost money for room rental. We have lost money for muffins and pastries and coffees, because typically people don't come unless you feed them. And then we've also had the expense of continuing education, because that's another teaser that we've had to pay for to get people to show up. And quite frankly, even that's not attractive enough in this market, because people can get free CEs anywhere. So this has really been an expense and a risk. And it's just, quite frankly, there's just not, the interest isn't there. And I guess that's probably a topic for another day. Anyways, many organizations with higher quorums requirements are forced to cancel their meetings or result in less frequent meetings. And then this ends up, the momentum is lost, and we've lost engagement of our members, because they're just now thinking, well, nobody else is interested. Why should I be? And lowering our quorum can prevent this cycle and safeguard the association's ability to manage strategic process. Now, I need to remind you that lowering a quorum does not stop members from participating. In fact, we don't have a problem stopping members from participating, because they're just not participating as it is. But it acts as a safeguard to stall decision-making when enough members do not attend. So a quorum requirement should really strike a balance between participation and practicality. And we know from our past experiences over two decades that the practicality of this is that we need to address our quorum and the number of people that are willing to show up and conduct the business of our association, and ensuring that our decisions are reflective of the organization without any burdensome process. And again, with an unnecessarily high quorum threshold. Lowering the requirement is really, we think, a positive step to promoting more effective and engaged dynamic decision-making. People will show up at these meetings knowing that the business of the association will move forward, and they won't show up and then just have it canceled or have to reschedule. I'd also like to point out that we are, again, this is not a lowering a quorum for any board decision. This is not talking about the board. This is talking about our annual meeting. So I will now turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you, Kimberly. We will also conduct the election of the 2024 candidates for officers and directors as follows: Michelle Cox, President; Robert Sullivan, President-elect; Peter Keene, Vice President; Jameson Souza, Treasurer; Christine McClellan, Secretary; and myself as past president. Directors, some are incumbent, and I will read all the names: Jackie Bone, Holly Bernard, Tina Davis Charuna, Caitlin Fisher, John Kelleher, Janet Pistone, Kelly Sweat, and Richard Waystack. The South Shore Realtors elected Massachusetts Association of Realtors directors are being proposed: Michelle Cox, Lenny Harris, George Jameson, Christine Silva, and Tricia Stone. South Shore Realtors elected Massachusetts Association of Realtors director alternates: David Brodeur, Joseph Constantino, Brian Molise, and Mary Beth Sorgi. South Shore Realtors elected National Association of Realtors director Jennifer Jewell, myself. For those of you that are attending in person, the annual meeting begins at 8 a.m. with a network breakfast with our sponsors. You will have the chance to meet the wonderful affiliate members who support the association. Be sure to bring plenty of business cards to network and for free sponsor prize drawings. After the network breakfast, we've brought in NAR economist Lawrence Yun virtually to provide an economic update, which will be very helpful for your business plan. Then we will begin the live annual meeting. The meeting wraps up with an NAR update by 2025 NAR President Kevin Sears and a Board of Registration update from Massachusetts Board of Real Estate Brokers and Salespersons Board Chair Peter Raffini. We will also recognize our Emeritus and Honor Society winners. We hope you will join us live, but if you can't, please take 1 minute to submit your proxy. And let's take a look and see, do we have any questions in the chat?
I don't see anything, but while we're waiting for questions, I just want to thank Steve and Jill and Peter for joining us and serving on the Bylaws Task Force with Kim and our other Bylaws Task Force members like Janet Murray and Nicole Vermillion. And I'm not seeing anything in the chat, which means.
Can we, would Marie be able to add in the next upcoming event that we have coming up in an hour and 45 minutes? The buyer agency?
Sure, you give her a.
Oh, there it is.
Boy, you're fast, Marie.
Thank you,
Okay,
Marie.
so for those of you that aren't aware, Kim will be doing a session for us at 12 p.m. There's the link to register. It is free for members. And seeing no questions, I'm hoping all of you will be there at the annual meeting to help us pass our bylaw amendments. And
Rachel, if somebody has some questions and has any questions between now and the annual meeting, should they reach out to Jennifer?
absolutely, they can reach out to Jennifer or myself or both of us. They can send in a question to info at South Shore Realtors, and that will go to us very quickly. So yes, absolutely, Kim. Great question.
Yeah, and if anybody has any, again, the bylaws committee, a lot of us are here on this info session. So if you wanted to reach out to one of the committee members and just, ask them a question, I think all of us are pretty comfortable with that. Like I said, we also reviewed all the other quorum requirements for all the other local association of realtors. And I think we all feel very comfortable with this recommendation. And being that we don't have a lot of questions today, I'm guessing we won't have a lot of questions come time for the annual meeting, but we look forward to seeing y'all there. Let's see, anything else coming up in the chat? Thank you for the good. Thank you for having this information. Thank you. A lot of thank yous in the chat. All right, anything from the committee members? Steve, Jill, Peter? Nope.
Nothing.
Well, I'd like to thank my committee members because they just did a fabulous job. Thank you, President, Jennifer, Rachel, thank you.
Thank you, Kim. You're
Thank you.
amazing, as always, all of you. All right, I guess this is it. We're gonna go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you live at the annual meeting.
Have a great one.